Rasmus Hojlund arrives with a £72 million price tag, and so, naturally, you'd expect him to be Manchester United's first-choice centre-forward this season. Erik ten Hag was concerned about United's lack of goals, and the exciting Danish striker has been signed at considerable expense to remedy that. Even if ten Hag eases Hojlund into life in a red shirt, you'd anticipate that within a few weeks he will be leading the attack and hopefully taking his chances. All of which is bad news for Anthony Martial. The Frenchman, through a combination of inconsistency and injury, has never hit the heights expected of him across 8 seasons at United. When Louis van Gaal's United paid an initial £36 million to sign Martial, then a teenager, from Monaco in 2015, one of many add-on clauses concerned the player winning the Ballon d'Or before 2019. Had United needed to make that particular payment to Monaco, they'd no doubt have been delighted, because it would have meant Martial had achieved his sky-high potential. But unfortunately he hasn't come anywhere near such levels, and the final season of the 27-year-old's contract looks set to be one of bench warming and limited opportunity if Hojlund fires. As Mailsport reported in June, United are prepared to listen to offers for Martial this summer, and would want £25 million for him. But as the new campaign nears, Martial remains in ten Hag's squad and looks set to play at least some sort of role in the months ahead. Keeping him would be sensible. If Hojlund gets injured or fails to find form, United will need a backup centre-forward, and Martial is the only real option without converting a wide attacker. They really don't want to be bringing a Wout Weghorst-type forward in on loan come January. Again, the big Dutchman's effort and enthusiasm was endearing, but he played way more games than expected and didn't solve the dearth of goals. Ten Hag will need Martial for sure in lesser Premier League and domestic cup games, so Hojlund's game time can be managed properly. He can also make an impact from the bench. During United's preseason tour of America, ten Hag said this about Martial: "We need a good squad, and Martial is a brilliant football player, and so he will help us. He scored goals, and also in other areas of football like pressing, in possession, combinations. He's a great player, and, yeah, let's hope he will be fit and stays fit. Therein lies the issue. Martial just can't keep himself fit." Last season saw the Frenchman suffer separate Achilles, back and hip injuries before breaking down with a hamstring issue in the final league game against Fulham, ruling him out the FA Cup final. It was a similar story the season before, when Martial spent time on loan with Sevilla, and though all this is unlucky, United can't waste time with an unreliable striker. Martial didn't get on the pitch during the US tour despite hopes he'd feature against Borussia Dortmund in Las Vegas last Sunday. While he has been able to train, the club are understandably cautious about rushing him back given his injury record. Martial may get some minutes under his belt this weekend as United play 2 friendlies, against Lens at Old Trafford on Saturday and Athletic Bilbao in Dublin on Sunday. When he is fit, Martial is often able to produce. He scored 9 times last season in between the spells on the sidelines to remind everyone of his talents. Ten Hag doesn't describe Martial as a brilliant player lightly, and he does indeed link up well with Marcus Rashford and United's other attackers when he does play. The Dutch coach was sufficiently impressed by Martial's performance on the 2022 preseason tour to give him another season, though having assessed his forward options, perhaps felt he had no other choice. With Hojlund coming in, now he does have that choice, and Martial looks destined to be playing second fiddle. Hojlund will back himself to handle the intense pressure that comes with being United's main centre-forward. It's a role Martial probably should have made his own during 8 turbulent seasons at Old Trafford. The chopping and changing of managers hasn't helped, but Martial's own attitude can also be questioned. Hailed as the next Thierry Henry when he arrived in England, a haul of 17 goals in his first season under Van Gaal did nothing to dampen expectations. Jose Mourinho would have wanted more than the 8 goals Martial delivered in the 2016-17 season, and his work rate was called into question. In 2019-20, it appeared Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as a former United striker, had unlocked the secret to getting the best from Martial, who scored 23 times in that COVID-affected year, but it proved a false dawn, and, eventually, United turned to other options. Martial has 88 goals in 298 appearances but has hit double figures in only half his seasons at the club. United were always going to move on, and now his opportunities will be squeezed all the more tightly. Martial needs to find fitness and form to have any future at Old Trafford.